Hello, annyeonghaseyo. Welcome to the K-League United podcast. Matthew Binns here, and this week I am joined by the one and only Paul Nee. Hello, Paul. How's it going?
Very good, Matthew. Yeah, been a busy weekend. Going to two games. I wanted to start 2023 like I started 2013, my first K-League weekend. With Seoul at home on the Saturday, and then Daejeon at home on the Sunday. So that's what that's how it works out then, and that's how it works out this time as well. But thankfully, the result for Daejeon went better than it did in 2013, because as you might know, that year they lost 3-1 to Jeonbuk.
Yeah, it was a year that started all right for Jeonbuk. Quite the opposite for them though. This weekend, as I discovered.
Well, yeah, and the team that Seoul played on that opening day in 2013 was Pohang, and they went on to go and win the title, of course. But football these days, Matthew, it's all about stats, isn't it? So I want to sort of run through some of my stats from Sunday, if you will. 10,000 steps, okay, 23 floors climbed, 7.43 kilometers walked. 371 calories burned, apparently, according to my step counter on my phone. But some of those 10,000 steps were definitely ran. I had to run those steps because I was in the mix zone afterwards for Daejeon. You'll hear what we got from that in a little while. But they took so long to come out after the game, over an hour, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go here, but I didn't want to be sort of waiting there for 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then end up with nothing. So I gambled and gambled on it. And then I literally had 9 minutes was what I had from the time that I left, the time that I got on the subway, off the subway, and then into the train station. It was intense. I'll tell you what, I've ran that route more times than I would like to have. It's actually a great thigh workout. You just sort of power up them stairs. Incredible. So busy weekend. But yours was too. Obviously, you were down in Ulsan.
I was down in Ulsan, but I'm afraid of most of my stats that relate to bus waiting times and my bank balance after having to fork out for a taxi to get back to that station. To be honest.
Oh yeah. So your heat map then is just you at a bus stop with your Americano.
Yeah, basically. Well, no, actually, I can't even take them on buses anymore. So yeah, we really have moved on from 2013, Paul.
Well, you can if you're sneaky. You can if you're very, very sneaky. I tend to put mine on the side of the driver's not looking, or in my pocket. So if you are coming to South Korea this year and you do want to take a coffee on the bus, there's some practical advice for you. There we go.
Or if you don't want to get in trouble with transit authorities, then we do not strongly advise it. But yes, good tips there.
It is doable.
It is doable, and most of the Ulsan fans they were assuming they were going to be sneaking in drinks this weekend to the stadium, sneaking in food as well. But Ulsan reversed the food ban. Thankfully, they just went to recommend not bringing food in. But yeah, I suppose smugglers like us, we have to get our kicks from the public transportation system instead, Paul.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yes, Ulsan, great stadium, definitely one that should be on any ground hoppers checklist. But my word, that train station, it's just miles away with like sparse buses laid on. I got to this train station at like 10:40 in the morning. Kickoffs at 2. Went into the convenience store, came out, and I couldn't get on the bus. And I was first in line for the next bus. I was that close to getting on it, and the next bus took over 30 minutes to arrive. It was awful. But yeah. Anyway, the public transportation was fully put to the test this weekend because fans came out in their droves for the return of K-League. All clearly been waiting in anticipation since last October, and none more so than at Ulsan. We'll be going through that news in addition to all of the weekend's action and quite a few mix zone interviews before then answering your questions in the mailbag and then making our picks for K-League Survivor. Yes, that's right. It's back. And we'll give you more details on it at the end of this podcast. But for now, let's jump straight in, Paul. K-League returned, as did the fans. Ulsan versus John Book, bringing in a whopping 28,039 in attendance. That is a record paid attendance for opening day. Paid attendance, what's that? I hear you cry. Well, since 2017 or 2018, I believe, K-League switched to paid attendances only. And because prior to that, a lot of tickets would be given away in deals with schools, in special offers and things like that. So K-League did away with that. And even though that still happens, they only count the paid attendances. So you only see those stats. And yeah, so this is the highest paid attendance. The actual amount that was there is probably a little bit higher, Paul.
Yes. In fact, in the mix zone, whilst we're waiting for the players to come out at Seoul as well, I was talking about this to Osmar because he came out for a little bit for a chat, and one of the media guys at Seoul was explaining, yes, that the FC Seoul attendance was also quite good, but it was actually probably a lot, not a lot more, but a bit more than what was announced. But I've got a little bit of a quiz for you, Matthew. As you just said, the Ulsan Jeonbuk attendance was the biggest at the weekend, biggest of all time in terms of paid attendance for the opening day. Which one was next, do you think? And what's a rough ballpark figure?
I think I know this because I was at it. In terms of paid attendance.
Sorry, I just mean this weekend just gone.
Oh, this weekend just gone. I apologize. I thought you mean in terms of paid attendance since it started. Okay, then I wasn't at that match then. I would say, going by what I saw in the stands, Pohang. I know they had a bit of traffic problems as well.
Pohang was decent, but it wasn't next. No, it was FC Seoul Incheon was next at 22,204.
Yeah. The problem is with FC Seoul is they can have a lot in that stadium and it can still not look like a lot. It's a very big stadium, and unfortunately, which plagues a lot of K-League clubs. Yes, but oh well, that's not bad.
All right, so what's third? So it's Ulsan Jeonbuk, Seoul Incheon second, third
Pohang. I'm gonna double down on it.
Double down on Pohang. You're wrong. It was Daejeon, 18,590.
Oh, I saw the video doing the rounds of the manager fastening his coat and the camera going round him while everybody's got the lights out in the stands. Yeah,
brilliant. What a man.
Oh wow.
Well, yeah.
Put me out of my misery then. Who was fourth? Was it Pohang?
Fourth was Pohang at 14,089, and then fifth Suwon Blue Wings Gwangju at 10,348, and then Jeju 8,362. But that is low, but it is good for Jeju. So obviously even the Islanders there are looking forward to Namkeel's brand of football again this season. So there we go.
Yeah, very encouraging stuff. We'll see how that carries over into the second weekend and throughout the rest of the season, because typically opening day attendances are a lot higher when everyone's full of optimism, especially Jeonbuk fans who've been very optimistic about opening days for a while. Now it's been 11 years straight without a loss on opening day. It's also been a long time since they played away on opening day, but that's what they did. They went down to Ulsan, as we mentioned earlier, and took on the champions. Yes, Ulsan coming in like champions. They were fans all gathered outside. Paul, they were just all gone in early to get higher up and standing on the steps and looking down, and then they're all gathering around where the bus is coming in, and they had like a fanfare for the bus as it arrived, and yeah, it came to a hero's welcome. It was really something, I have to say, even though I wasn't particularly supporting them. But yeah, so Ulsan coming in like champions. They were welcomed onto the pitch like champions, as we mentioned in the last podcast. Jeonbuk giving their first guard of honor since 1999. Having not played the champions on opening day since then. But I'd say Jeonbuk started the better of these teams. I think they're not as bad as we thought. I don't think we ever thought they were going to be bad, but there were signs last season that despite all the talent, they could become possession hungry without a purpose. They weren't here though. They pressed. Ulsan went out of possession, and the speed at which they transitioned into attack, it was something that they were sorely lacking for the most part last season. The inclusion of Lee Dong-jun and the speed he possesses clearly was a big influence on that right. But I genuinely like the interplay between him, Jun Amano, who got a lovely reception from the Ulsan fans, Song Min-kyu and Cho Kyu-sung. The four of them up front, they had a really nice dynamic going. And with that, it took just 11 minutes for the quartet to find a way through. There was Lee Dong-jun and Jun Amano linking up to play through Song Min-kyu, who in space in the penalty box just rifled home a shot into the top of the net. And it was 1-0 really early on. And they just had further opportunities to double their lead. They really shell-shocked Ulsan. Cho Kyu-sung, he had a couple of opportunities that he squandered. He definitely wasn't up to the standard we had become used to seeing of him at the end of last season, perhaps not posing the same threat. But yeah, not killing that game off, it allowed Ulsan to come back into it. And they are champions for a reason. The warning signs should have been there. I think it was about the 42nd minute. Young goalkeeper Kim Jong-hun was forced into a fine save to deny Chu Min-kyu. Although, to be fair to Kim, he hadn't had much to do up until then. He hadn't looked bad either, especially as we thought it would be a Jong Min-ki that would have been the shoe-in to start. But no, it wasn't. 2 minutes later, though, Jeonbuk's defence did crumble. They were unable to clear the loose ball, and Onwon Sang pounced to draw things level before half-time. Things got slightly worse for Jeonbuk as Lee Dong-jun went down injured and then had to be replaced, which is worrying for their new signing, given how good he looked and also given his injury history. I've had a look at the news. I still haven't seen exactly what's happened reported at the time of recording this podcast. It was just one newspaper that just said it was a big injury. So I hope it's not that bad, but we'll see. I'm sure more will be coming out later in the week on his current status. But yeah, also they grew in confidence in the second half, and it was a lack of confidence for Jeonbuk that led to the goal. It was Hong Jong-ho with a questionable back pass, a little bit too high for his goalkeeper, and Kim Jong-un didn't even cover himself in glory by chesting it down and effectively bouncing it into the path of Ludwigsen, who had come on to make his debut, and he chipped it over the keeper and ran on to tap in. So yeah, 2-1 Ulsan. Yeah, Jeonbuk, they tried, but the ghosts of last season haunted them. They couldn't really create the chances they needed. And Ulsan, well, they look like they've exercised the demons over this Jeonbuk side. They were not at their best at the weekend. They were all right, but not at the best. And they still had the confidence, and they were unfazed by the threat that Jeonbuk put on. So yeah, it was a champions-like performance, but promising for Jeonbuk, despite being their first opening day loss since 2011. I do feel better about them at the start of this season than last year. So yeah, signs of optimism. So moving on then, while I was trying to figure my way back to Seoul from Ulsan, you were trying to figure out if you were going to make it in time to see Seoul, Paul.
Yes, that's right. The traffic was horrific around Sangam on the way in. I had an errand to run, so I wasn't going to get there early like I normally like to. But I thought I'd get there in time for kickoff, and I did, but only just. It took some spirited driving in and around that last corner before you get into the car park. But I did get there, and when I was on the way, I may have had a little peek at the team sheet as I was on the way in, and I was very surprised because Ilyachenko was on the bench, new captain. Mm-hmm. Why name him captain if you're not going to start him in the first game? Just have a Korean player as captain and have him as one of the vice captains, one of the many vice captains that seems to be a trend now. You have one captain and then about 16 different vice captains. But it was a 4-4-2. Alex Su were challenging his Mike Bassett. So there he went with Kim Ju-sung alongside Osmar at centre-back. There's a lot of candidates there at Seoul. Kwon Wang-kyu, Lee Han-bom, Hwang Yeon-soo, who I saw collecting his free tickets on the way in. He didn't look very pleased that he wasn't in the squad, and the girl behind the desk didn't recognize him, so he wasn't best pleased about that. But Yeah, they have got options there when all fits, and also I wanted to see who was going to be the fullbacks that Anixu picked because they signed 2 new ones, one on each side, Pak Suil and Lee Shi-yong. Neither started. Lee Shi-yong was on the bench. Instead, it was Lee Tae-sok on the left, and Kim Jin-ya moved over to the right, obviously playing against his old club, Incheon United. And also, Seoul have obviously bought several wingers, but they instead went for Na Sang-ho on the right. And Im Sang-hyuk, who was wearing the captain's armband, new signing, he started on the left. And up front with Hwang Hee-jo, it was Park Dong-jin, who was preferred to Ilyachenko. But overall, FC Seoul much more incisive and much more direct than what we saw last year. There was more urgency and drive, and they looked much more focused when they were going forward. Last year, as we know, it was a little bit aimless at times. Im Sang-hyuk, very, very good. He definitely deserved his goal. They have needed someone like him who isn't afraid to have a go. They like to try and walk the ball in at times last year. His shot was from distance, and also it was Seoul making the most of an error from the other team. Usually, or often, it has been the other way around. The second goal came after a spell of pressure. Seoul had a fair few corners, but finally one landed on the head of a Seoul player. The cross from Ki Sung-young and Kim Ju-sung headed it in. You have to say it is a bit of an error from the goalkeeper, Kim Dong-hon. He's usually very, very solid. He came out, he flapped, and he wasn't getting anywhere near it. In terms of the main event, I suppose you could say, Hwang Hee-jo, his debut, he had 3 shots, 2 on target. He forced a couple of good saves from Kim Dong-hon. His second of the afternoon in particular, when Seoul tried to hit into on the counter-attack. Park Dong-jin ran more or less the whole length of the pitch on the counter. He squared it over to the other side to Hwang Hee-jo. He cut in, he shot left-footed, but it was a great save from Kim Dong-hon. Seoul, very, very good, but it got a little bit edgy towards the end. Oban Sok, your new best mate, Matthew, he scored a cracking half volley.
He was, yeah. He's high on confidence now.
Yeah.
He's achieved everything after speaking with me, and now he's just playing with absolute freedom.
He got first interview in English, a new contract, and then he scores all in the same week.
Yeah.
I mean,
he just put them in order. First? That's all we got to ask him next week. Which one was your best?
Exactly. Exactly. So his late goal meant it was a nervy ending. They had to make some substitutions, bring on some more defenders. They brought on some more they brought on Kwon Wang-gyu, but his headed clearance was what led to the goal. They also brought on Lee Shi-yong, a little bit of pace at fullback as well, just to sort of keep the legs going. In goal, Chae Chol-won obviously made his debut. He made a few saves, but none more important than the one right at the death. Delbridge had a chance from very, very close out. Great save. And that was basically the sort of last action of the game. And yes, I said it was incisive. I said it was more direct. And I asked Key whether he thought he agreed. And he did.
We're going to have a quick break. And we'll be right back with what else we learned from the weekend.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Okay, welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Before the break, we talked about John Book versus Ulsan, and we talked about Seoul versus Incheon. But we have not talked about the 2 new teams yet in the division. The Party Crashers. Paul, you were at one of these matches, and well, how did both of them go? Talk about both. Let's not talk about that one yet, because I'm sure we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
But let's talk about Suwon Blue Wings and Gwangju FC.
Yes. Well, great away win, a classic away win. Defended well, rode the luck, and then took the chance when it came towards the end. Blue Wings will feel unlucky. They had 11 shots, but only 4 on target. They did enough to score, according to the Y-Scout XG, 1.78 to Gwangju's 0.82. Possession-wise, 53% to Gwangju's 46%. Guangzhou, though, they had 12 shots, 3 on target, 1 goal. That's the one that was important. There were debuts for Acosti, Kim Bo-kyung, Basani, and also the return of Ko Sung-bom. For Guangzhou, debuts as well for them for Timu Lecce, Thomas Bedinelli, Asani, the goal scorer as well. He came off the bench. Suwon, they had lots of chances. The goalkeeper, who we've got a question about in the mailbag a bit later, so I'll save that for then. But Suwon had a lot of chances. They had a goal disallowed as well. The artist formerly known as John Se-jin, now John Jinu, he had one. It was a lovely little dinked finish over the goalkeeper, but he was definitely offside. And Suwon will just feel very, very unlucky because the scoreline will say home defeat to a team that's just come up, not good, but they were better than what the result suggested. What I will say about Guangzhou, Lee Jong-hyo looks like a really talented young manager. Obviously, we know that from what happened last season, but to sort of, I wouldn't say mastermind, but get the tactics right in the first game back at K-League 1 level to get off to a winning start, that changes everything. To get off to a winning start in terms of confidence is massive. But if you want to read more about this game, our own Michael Redmond was there, and he's put together a very comprehensive match report of this game on KLUnited.com. So do check that out right now. Or later. Not now, obviously, but a bit later.
Not now, no. I actually, I got my knowledge of this match came in the form of Peter Hampshire, who was celebrating his birthday, celebrating that Guangzhou win on his birthday by waking up at a ridiculously early hour to catch it. And he was just going on about the worldies that the keeper was making. But we're gonna probably talk about the goalkeeper a little bit later in the mailbag, just a sneaky preview there. But just know you may leave Korea, you may leave Gimjae, but Guangzhou stays with you forever.
It does.
Paul, I know you've been waiting. I know you've been waiting to talk about them. I did put you off there on purpose just to ruin your flow.
You had me teed up and ready, and then you let me down. Yeah.
No, go for it then. Tell me.
Okay.
Daejeon are back.
Yes, they are back. It was their first match in K-League 1 since November the 28th, 2015, 2,640-odd days ago. It was their first win in K-League 1 since the 24th of October, 2015, 2,680-odd days ago. And interestingly, Lee Chang-gun and Ju Se-jong both played in that game, but for Busan on the opposite side, they beat Busan 2-1. But to sum it up, the Purples were excellent. Purposeful is what I said in my match report, because they were. First half especially, the pace on the counter was frightening. They looked to get the ball into the corners towards Leandro for him to drive at Gangwon. Evidence of that was with the goal, but we'll come to that in just a second. The first was his assist, though. He played it through to Thiago. Very cool finish, very calm. And Leo, he knew exactly where his mate was. The pass was inch perfect. Clearly, already they've got a good thing going there between the two of them. The shape was good too for Daejeon. The lineup sheet said it was a 4-3-3. They began with a 3-4-1-2 with new boy Anton on the left side of a back three with usual left back Soyoung Jae as a wing back. Oh Jae-sok was the other wing back on the right hand side, but both began very high up the pitch. They looked like wingers really, with almost like a front four, but that was to try and pin Gangwon back in those early exchanges. Ju Se-jong was very much the quarterback who would drop into the sort of back line to make a four, and his passing, his just sort of authority on the ball was superb. So again, as I said, for the first goal, great link-up play, but just very sharp, very purposeful, and there was a clear plan, which you couldn't say about Gangwon, really. They were lethargic and a little bit laboured in that first half. In the press conference afterwards, Lee Min-sung was asked if this was his team's new tactic, but he sort of laughed it off and said, if I say it is, then other teams will know what to do against us. But the second goal came after they began to build a bit of momentum as well. But in that period, from the first goal to the second, they were unbelievable. They just wave after wave of attack. Gangwon's back three, cumbersome, bit too high at times, dangerous that against the pace that the Purples had. Personnel, I think, was an issue as well. Yoon Seok-young, Im Chang-woo, and Kim Yong-bin with a sort of three centre-backs two are really their fullbacks, and Kim Young-bin is not the quickest. None are really, but they just look very lethargic. I thought they could have probably had Kevin Janssen start. He might have been a better sort of fit to go up against Thiago in that sort of physical encounter. The second goal, we've seen the video, I'm sure, on Instagram from the K-League, but a two-pass counter-attack, basically. Mm-hmm. It was an interception by Choi Yu-min, who was superb, by the way, throughout the whole game. He knew what to do. He got the ball, he gave it to his mate, Lee Jin-hyun, who took the touch, turned, and then gave it to Leandro, who, as I said, aimed for him in the corner. A little bit of luck because the defender falls over, but he was flat-footed. That's probably why. And then Leo was devastated. The direct run, it was so determined. He knew what he was going to do. And that goal, it comes inside and he sort of fires it into the near post and it's 2-0. It was just incredible. And he had a very similar chance like that in the playoff second leg. He kind of dropped out of form a little bit towards the end of last season. And he got a bit of a telling off from the manager and maybe some of his teammates for missing that opportunity. But clearly, he's in form and, like I said before, a good sort of understanding with Thiago. But in the second half, it became more of a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1. Min Song, he loves and values pace in his side. Once he knew that legs were beginning to tire, he brought on Kim In-gyun and Shin Sang-eun, again, to try and keep the same sort of system, keep the ability to sort of hit them on the counter attack. But Daejeon were just very, very good. First half especially, and we saw two different sides of the team. Very good going forward, very dangerous, and then at the back, just very, very solid. They dealt with everything. Gangwon weren't great, but they had a couple of opportunities. Yang Hyun-jun had one or two looks in. Kim Dae-won had a couple of shots as well. Gallego, when he came on second half, he did okay. But overall, Daejeon were just fantastic. And yeah, it was a massive, massive win.
All right. Well, the one other game that was played this weekend, and yes, I know there was two, but we're going to talk about one more of these games before we have a break. And that was Pohang's fight back to top the table. Yeah, steely determination. I've got this headlined under. It was a lot of fun, this one, even if it took a bit of time to get going. And by that, I mean, kickoff was delayed due to a power outage. But when it did get going, wow, there's plenty of electricity on the pitch. These two sides went back and forth in what was a very entertaining affair. Woody for Daegu, Hong Chul did get injured early on. He challenged for the ball. There was no malice in it, but he landed a bit awkward. It didn't look very good for him. But yeah, the game kicked into life pretty early on. The first goal was on the half-hour mark. Hong Jong-hun heads across a corner. There's a corner into the box. Hong Jong-hun heads it across, and Go Jae-hyun is there at the far post to nod it past the keeper, Hwang In-jae. Not Yun Kyung-guk, as predicted. But yeah, Daegu took an early lead. And then former Daegu man Zeka, now playing for Pohang, he was causing quite a headache for his previous teammates. He came close himself before then assisting the equaliser on the stroke of half-time. He did well to brush off the defender, and then he slotted the ball across to Jongjae. He initial thoughts was it hadn't crossed the line, but it was ruled in after conferring. Half-time then, Pohang, they subbed in their new signing, Kim In-sung. He made his debut after switching from Seoul Eland. We knew we'd fit them in this pod somehow. And he had an instant impact. He fouled in the box on a corner and gave away a penalty.
Yeah, not the impact you want, is it? But yeah, he gave an impact.
Sleeper agent for Ulsan, it seems. But yes, Cecina, he does what Cecina does. He just converted. It was 2-1 to Daegu. Cecina then nearly scored an incredible effort moments later. He hit the ball on the volley and he just saw it go inches wide. And it was Daegu's inability to kill off this game that hurt them. Pohang, they subbed on Lee Ho-jae for Zeka. He'd only been on for about 10 minutes, but equalised after Kim Sung-dae received the ball in space and played it across the scrambling back line for Lee to convert. And then, well, he wasn't done. Lee Ho-jae, he struck a tame bouncing effort from the edge of the area that Daegu goalkeeper Oh Sung-eun is going to have nightmares about. He saw it go under his gloves and into the net. right at the death. Pohang 3, Daegu 2. And on goals scored, that sees the Steelers top the table. But yeah, despite conceding 2, Pohang looked really impressive. I thought they looked really good. And once again, Kim Ki-dong has managed to keep things ticking over despite losing players. Yeah, I know Daegu had their problems last season, but this was really good, I thought, from Pohang. Fun fact: all of the top 5 of the league's passers after round 1 are all playing for Pohang. They all had over 100 each, according to Y-Scout, that is. And if you carry on with Y-Scout, they say top 6, 6 of the top 7 rather, are all Pohang players, with the other player being former Pohang player Shin Jin-ho. Yet Pohang got over 800 passes, 91% accuracy as well. Not all of them were forward passes, it should be said. There was a lot of sideways passing there. The actual second closest passes of the weekend was Jeju with 500, and they had a bit more direction with it. But we'll talk a little bit about Jeju when we get to the mailbag, as we have a few questions in there. So, we thought we'll go through that match a bit later on. But for now, let's have a break, and we'll come back and run through next weekend's matches.
Footballogy is a football app like no other. With the handiest tool for football fans on your phone, you can locate any match nearby, no matter where on the planet you are or plan to be. Keep track of all your visited games, collect all kinds of stats, and get badges for achievements like special games and milestone events. The Footballogy app covers more than 80,000 grounds and 1,200 leagues worldwide, including K-League 1 and 2, as well as K3 and K4 and the WK League. Download Footballogy for free today on iPhone or Android. Connect with your friends, and your football life will never be the same again.
Okay, welcome back to the K-League United podcast. Before the break, you heard us go through Daejeon's win and also Pohang's 3-2 victory over Daegu. But we do have but we are looking ahead to the next round. Paul, could you tell us what fixtures await us in K-League 1 this weekend?
Yes, there are 2 p.m. kickoffs, one of which is Incheon United at home to Daejeon Hana Citizen. Then it's Suwon FC at home to Pohang Steelers. And then at 4:30 on Saturday, Daegu FC versus Jeju United. Then on Sunday, Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors versus Suwon Blue Wings at 2 p.m. Gangwon FC at home to Ulsan Hyundai, also at 2 p.m. That's obviously a repeat of the game where Ulsan sealed the title last season, same stadium as well for the Horangi. And then the game which closes out the round is Gwangju FC versus FC Seoul. That's at 4:30.
Okay, and all of them, they can be watched on TV, on Coupang Play, if you are living in Korea. But they can also be watched on tv.kleague.com if you are overseas and your country hasn't got a broadcasting deal already, with English commentary provided by Alex Jensen. There'll be commentary on Incheon vs Daejeon and Jeonbuk vs Suwon Blue Wings. But Paul, which one of those games do you recommend people should be watching?
Well, speaking of Alex, did you hear what happened with the Daegu Pohang game or Pohang Daegu game?
No, what happened?
An hour before they switched the game to another one. Yes, I think it was Suwon, Jeju Suwon. So not only did he get changed an hour before, but they gave him the game that was goalless and not the 3-2. Yeah,
that's quite the trade-off. That's quite the trade-off indeed.
Yeah. But yes, well, obviously the one to pick is the one that I'm going to, and that's Incheon versus Daejeon.
Mm-hmm.
Daejeon will be full of confidence after the weekend. Incheon need to bounce back, of course, after their defeat. They weren't bad against Seoul, but they weren't great, and they want to sort of put on a good display in front of their own fans. They are trying to get sort of 10,000 fans on most weeks at their home stadium, and they're going to want to do that. They'll have to sort of pick up wins at home, certainly in the earlier part of the season. I think if Hernandez, he didn't make the starting 11 last weekend. He came on, of course, but he will make a big difference on Saturday if he's fit and can be at that kind of focal point for Incheon. There, John. Well, we'll just see what happens. I think it's going to be a case of the same as what we saw against Gangwon, but with added extra confidence.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I hope it'll be as exciting because Incheon, they looked okay, I thought, against Seoul, and Daejeon, obviously, they look very, very good. So, yeah, it should be an interesting match. That would have been my pick to watch, but you've already picked it, unfortunately. So, I have I've gone for the two winners of last weekend, the only matchup between the two winners, and that's Gwangju versus FC Seoul. Yes, well, Seoul, as we said, they look really good. They looked incisive, like you said. So I think it's going to be quite a test for Gwangju, but we saw the way they managed to threat that Suhang Steelers, yes. No, we saw the way they managed to threat that Suwon posed at the weekend. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can transfer that tactic now against FC Seoul. So that would be my one to watch. I've got a bit of intrigue for that one. But time for the mailbag. Few questions this week, Paul. A number talking about the game we didn't cover, and that was Jeju 0, Suwon 0. What are people asking about that?
Yes, we do have one question about that. Well, a couple actually, but straight in with Boha from Twitter, Suwon FC fan, of course. He says, "Hey, do you think the position Yoonbuk Ganam played is really the best for him, or maybe he would shine more playing in Murillo's place behind Lars?" From this day about Suwon FC, I was very surprised by the great level of Lee Jae-sung. And he hopes that he's found, well, that Lachlan Jackson has found his partner. So first of all, Yoonbuk Ganam, did you see sort of where he was playing? I think he was in the middle of a four alongside Park Joo-ho. I think he played in a similar spot in that season. He won the ACL for Ulsan in 2020 and won the MVP. I mean, there is arguments, I suppose you could say, to play him a bit further forward, but I quite like him as that sort of deep lying playmaker type role.
Yeah, he's definitely got. He's definitely good at distribution and creativity. The only memories I have him really from the match, it wasn't a very memorable match from what I remember. But yeah, I just seem to remember him. He had a good free kick, I think, and there was a corner as well that was nearly converted. But he's good at those set pieces. I do think, deep line playmaker is a good role for him. Perhaps moving forward would work though. He has got the talent to strike it. But yeah, I don't know on this one. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea. I think.
It's still very early. Obviously, there's going to be time for things to settle in. He's at a new club. He's playing for a new manager. Might just take a little bit of time to get used to that position, or playing alongside Park Joo-ho or whoever it is that plays in central midfield alongside him. So and he didn't play that much last year either. So maybe just a little bit of ring rust. But yeah, obviously you mentioned Lee Jae-sung. Speaking of ACL winners, he is of course an ACL winner. Won it with Jeonbuk in 2016, and it's surprising that he's been in K2 for a little bit and now he's back in K League 1.
Yeah, actually, I don't think he did win it with Jeonbuk in 2016. He came back. Was he Asan Mugunghwa, wasn't he?
He was recently, yeah.
I think he came back from Asan Mugunghwa in 2016, but wasn't eligible for. Don't worry, we can.
Well, anyway, he was a good centre back for Jeonbuk.
He was. He was very good.
He
was. He wasn't the central midfielder because Jeonbuk had two EJ songs at that time. They had two Part 1Js at that time as well. It was very confusing for commentators. But defender EJ Sung. He was very good. Known quantity in this league, obviously. So 2-1, obviously getting a player with a lot of talent there. Obviously, his best days are probably behind him now, but I still think he's definitely do a job for them. And hopefully, Jackson has found his partner, it seems.
Yeah, he's 34. He's younger than me, so he's not that old.
He's younger than me now, unfortunately, Paul.
Oh goodness me! We need Michael on for our under 32 quota.
We can't make any subs this week, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have a question from P.A. Loon. He said, "Are you still confident that Suwon will remain that exciting goal machine from last season after this weekend's 0-0 result?"
Um, yes, but the 0-0 doesn't help my case, I do admit. But I don't think. Well, Jeju came very close to scoring. When they say goal machine, he does mean it, but they do mean it both ends, right? Because Suwon, they're just as leaky at the back.
Yeah,
But
true.
yeah,
True.
I do
Yeah.
think they'll come. They'll start scoring soon. You got that much talent up front, and they showed it last season. It's the first game of the season. I wouldn't start making any drastic conclusions. But yeah, it was a shame they couldn't break Jeju down in that match.
Yeah, absolutely. George asks, not that George, a different George. He asks, do you think Hayes will stay as a backup striker, or does he have a shot to grab the starting spots? Obviously, Hayes moved from Gwangju over the winter. He had a good season in K-League 2 last year. Where do you see him playing? Can he be a backup striker, or is he going to muscle his way into the starting 11?
From my memory, Hayes was more of a attacking midfielder, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could certainly. I don't think Jeju have bought him to bench him. I really do think that they want to play him, and he played all the games for Gwangju last season. He was integral in their promotion campaign. He was one of their best players, to be honest. I don't see Jeju keeping him away from the starting 11 for long. So absolutely, yeah. I see him starting at some point.
Absolutely, yeah, and he's been brought in really to replace probably Jerso as one of the wingers on that on either side of that front three, with Yudi as the main striker. Obviously, not the best of debuts for him, but we'll see. Hopefully, more goals for him, for JG. But like I said earlier, same with Suwon FC. There'll be a lot of selection changes as time goes on, and Namkeel will be under pressure as well to deliver goals and results at Jeju. So yeah, I'm sure once he sort of finds that right combination, Hayes and Co will do just fine. All right, next down, Charlie Beasley. He says, "Who was your player of the week and why? And after the first match, are you still confident in your preseason table predictions?"
To answer the latter, I'm never confident in my preseason predictions. So,
nor am I. No.
Am I still with the same level of confidence in my preseason table predictions? Absolutely, yes. Because I'm not confident in them.
Well put.
But, I would say player of the week. That's a difficult one. I know the player of the week was obviously the Pohang goal scorer, Iho because he scored 2. But I think I'd go for a different Pohang player, and just this is mainly because I was looking at the passing stats. But the central midfielder Kim Jong-woo, he's leading the league for passes. I know passes don't count for everything, and again, he wasn't the highest in through passes and key passes, but he's up there for those as well. He did get an assist, but I can't really count the assist considering the goalkeeper error on it. It wasn't exactly a tame shot, but he's creating the chances as well. I thought he had just a very good game in central midfield. I think a lot of that Pohang team had a very good game as well. I was actually quite impressed with Zeka as well, who looked good against his former side. So probably somebody from Pohang, but that's mainly because that's one of the games I watched.
Yeah, fair enough. Kim Jong-un obviously is the replacement for Shin Jin-ho as well, so he's off to a great start in terms of replacing him. I am going to go for Leandro because a goal and assist for him. You can't argue that. And he was in the K-League Best 11 that was announced on Tuesday this week. So, yeah, I mean, goal and assist, you can't ask for more than that on your first game in K-League 1. In terms of my predictions for the table, yeah, I've got some things pretty badly wrong, I think. Daegu, I know they lost, but they looked all right until 84 minutes. I think as long as they can fix their defensive issues, they might be okay. Gwangju, obviously. I know Suwon had a lot of chances and will probably feel like they could have got a result from that. But Gwangju's squad's actually a lot better than I sort of thought when I was making those predictions. So they've got more depth than I thought as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see. He can't really judge it by after one round. It's far too early in the season.
Yeah. All right. We have one more, well, actually 2 more questions, but another one from Lord Inatur. Sorry if I've mispronounced that. Is Gustavo leaving Jeonbuk? He wasn't on the bench yesterday, that meaning Saturday. Where is he? What do you think about him, Matthew?
There was rumours of him leaving to Egypt in the winter, but they were quickly quashed. He's definitely staying at Jeonbuk at the moment. He is the backup striker. Kim Sang-shik mentioned his condition, him and Silva's condition in the pre-match press conference. That's why they were not selected for the game. So that's why he wasn't on the bench against Ulsan, according to the manager, unless that's just an excuse. But I'd be very surprised, given he is the only other striker they have after Cho Kyu-sung, who is expected to leave in the summer. So I like Gustavo. I think he's a reliable goal threat. I'm sure he doesn't always reach the higher echelons of the Golden Boot, but he's always up there. He was in the top 4 a couple of seasons ago. So yeah,
he works well for the team as well, doesn't he? He gets back.
Yeah, that's what I quite liked about him compared to Ilyichenko. I mean, I liked Ilyichenko as well, but they offered 2 different things. And one of the main things that Gustavo offered, instead of Ilyichenko's, Gustavo would drop back a lot more. So, yeah, I don't see him going anywhere, especially now Andre Luis and Silva are there. I see that yeah, I think he's probably enjoying life in Jeonbuk. So, we'll see.
There we go. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with Jeonbuk. They've got 4 Brazilians now, is it? 4? 3? Rafa Silva, Andre Luis, and Gustavo. And Andre Luis is an animal, so we'll see. As soon as he starts playing regularly, I think you might have found the replacement for Ricardo Lopez. They're quite similar in terms of their aggression. Right, last question. At Jamie CAFC 300 on Twitter, they ask, was Kim Kyung-min from Gwangju the best keeper of match day 1?
Yes. Well, no. He did the best saves, but no, he was not the most entertaining, which was reserved for Lee Bom-young, because I don't know if you'd seen the Jeju game, the highlights from that match, but my word, I think he saved about 5 or 6 shots, Lee Bom-young, a lot of them good. But then he also gave away the penalty. Probably should have given away another penalty. And there was one moment where he just kicked a ball and it just came off the side of his foot. And it was madness watching him.
Brilliant.
And
well,
the fact that he started as well, when out of the 3 goalkeepers Suwon had, he was the one I expected lowest down the pecking order. So yeah, absolute chaos, but entertainment all around. Lee Bom-young. But
there you go. If you were avoiding the highlights because it was 0-0, watch them just for that, which I will. I haven't watched him yet either. So yeah, we'll see.
He did some really good saves, and you're thinking, oh, I can see why he's back in the starting role. And then suddenly it just starts going very wrong very quickly, especially when you're watching the highlights because it's one after another. So yeah,
but maybe it is still 2013.
Maybe it is.
When keepers were a bit questionable back then. Things have improved a lot over the last 10 years.
Still got a clean sheet though, I think Kim Kyung-min, definitely the best goalkeeper. I was really impressed with him. What he did against Suwon, he kept them out, and I think as well what I liked about it, his saves, when he made the saves, they don't tend to go too far away from him. Yes, sure, he doesn't always catch them or whatever, but he keeps them close after he saves them or actually holds on to them. So. I thought he did really well.
Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper, and he's back at this level. He's not played too many times at K-League 1 level. He's at Jeju as a backup goalkeeper for the earlier part of his career. He was at Eland a couple of seasons ago. So yeah, it's quite the sort of rise to prominence for him. But that's it. That wraps up the mailbag. We'll put that away and we'll bring it out next week.
Okay. Right, well, that's almost it then, I guess, except we do have one more thing we have to do. K-League Survivor is back this weekend on our Patreon. So for people who don't know, it's very simple. You enter before noon on Saturday. You choose a team that you think is not going to lose at the weekend. And if they don't lose, you keep your lives. If they do lose, you lose a life. You lose all 3 lives, you're out. But you cannot pick the same team twice. So there's the catch there. You have 25 teams to choose from. Do you use the weaker teams early on to get them out of the way, or do you play your strongest picks, hoping that people are going to drop out? This season, entry is available on our Patreon. It's available to our $3 tier patrons, and we're going to give away a 2023 shirt. It could be a K-League shirt, home, away, or goalkeeper of your choice, or it could even be the Korean national team shirt of your choice, home or away. So, yes, $3 tier and $3 tier patrons, they can enter, and you just have to tell us each week who's not going to lose. Paul, I'm going to ask you, can you, I mean, you've got time to change it, but if you're choosing, and you can choose from any teams, not just the K-League 1 games that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
K-League 1, K-League 2.
True.
Which teams are you choosing? Which team are you going to choose this weekend?
John Book, I think. I'm going to have to just make sure that I don't... It's like the first game of the season for a team, isn't it? You have to make sure you don't lose. Winning is a bonus, but just do not lose that first game. So I think John Book, a home to Suwon Blue Wings, is fairly safe in terms of not losing a life. How about you?
Well, I'm now very annoyed because I'm going to that game and you've clearly cursed it. So I will also probably be following a similar policy. Yeah, I'm going to follow a similar policy to you there, but I will go for Ulsan at the moment. My choice is subject to change because I have got a few days to think about it at the time of recording. But I do believe I'll probably go.
Sorry, yeah, and we also have K-League 2 on, we are recording this on Tuesday, and K-League 2 will play Wednesday, so we'll have to sort of see how they get on.
Yes, we might see some really impressive performances. We could just choose Gimcheon Sangmu, surely.
There you go. That's true, yeah, we could.
Well, unless they're not playing at the weekend, there is always one team that you can't choose, and that will depend who it is. But it isn't Gimcheon. Gimcheon are playing Cheongju at the weekend. That sounds very tempting. Actually, doesn't it?
That does sound tempting. Yeah, I'm just looking at the weekend fixtures now. Yeah. Oh no, that's Wednesday.
No, Cheongju at home Saturday to Gimcheon Sangmu.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong one.
No problem at all. Anyway, but yeah, that's it. Patrons can do that over on patreon.com/K-League United. You can also follow at KSurvivor on Twitter. They'll be giving updates on the competition as well throughout. But yeah, you can do all that online. You can do all that on our Patreon. You can also follow us on social media at K-League United, at Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, also on YouTube as well. And yeah, that about wraps it up for this week. That was K-League 1 round 1. K-League 1 is back. K-League 2 is coming back. And we're going to be back next week. Thanks so much for listening.